We introduced you yesterday to the Logitech course. It's coming for the Quest 2 when it got announced and we found out, and some thoughts about what it looked like. And I couldn't believe that it looks like the review unit has actually showed up already 1 day later. Let's check this thing out. Now, if you came through yesterday, you know that this is $100. You can see the box is partially opened. I started opening it like a monster, trying to figure out if this really was what it claimed it was. I saw a label that said Logitech, and I said, okay, that's good enough. They used some monster tape on here, though, I gotta say. So we got blue paper. Introducing the Logitech course for MetaQuest 2. Blah, blah, blah. Off-ear audio solution weighing in at 182 grams, lightweight and comfortable. Premium sound quality, unparalleled comfort through seamless design. It's available in August 2022 for a suggested retail price of $100, $99.99. It's ready to go wherever in the virtual world MetaQuest 2 takes you. It actually looks more like an Oculus box than like a Logitech box. They got the Logitech label down at the bottom here. Simply slides onto MetaQuest 2, no additional battery or power required, USB power pass-through. A big question we had left afterwards we were worried about was, will this work with a link cable? Here we go again.
Oh boy, here I go killing again.
Now today's video, I wanna get these things open, I wanna try them out, I wanna see what they're like. So this is gonna be a first impressions unboxing, but we'll do some decently in-depth stuff, and then by tomorrow, I'm just gonna play with these things 24 hours straight, compare them to everything else out there. Oh, this one has a nice little tabby for me. I don't have to get the knife back out. Then tomorrow, we're gonna compare them side by side with everything, really go in depth for you too. Box opens and it shows us instructions. Basically slide it on and stick it in, pretty straightforward.
That's what she said?
If you hadn't seen, there is a cable that kind of goes in between. They kind of plan on you just hiding it up here. You can put it in between the Velcro strap and kind of have it off there. First impression, they definitely feel like they're Logitech. They feel solidly made. You can definitely tell most of the weight is in the speaker side of them. So hopefully that means we'll get a little better weight balance on the Quest. Very clicky. So many spots you can stop, although it doesn't come down quite as far as I expected. And that's basically it. And the fact that you don't have to charge them, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I have a whole other issue with which head straps this may or may not fit, but we'll check those out too. We're starting with the stock straps since that's what these were made for, but we will go through a whole bevy of head straps and find out what fits and what doesn't for you. I feel like some of these, like on screens and stuff, are nice, but I feel like so many of these things that come on stuff are just unnecessary. They're just there for you to peel them off.
Nice
Make your whole
shot.
unpackaging experience a little longer and more drawn out, I guess. Pretty obvious which one's which because you got your USB-C here. It is completely flexible, so at least it'll be a little nicer if it doesn't work with the link cable. If it doesn't, that's a huge miss though. I would not be happy. I paid $100 if it doesn't work with the link cable. Slides on right over the stock one, no problem. You can kind of move this up and out of the way while you're sliding on, which is nice. You don't have to just plug it straight in. And then it does have the USB-C down there that you can still charge it through. They hid it pretty well in the pictures, but I feel like basically they just kind of went like this and then kind of tucked it away. It's not gonna look seamless or flawless. It's gonna be there, but it's not too noticeable. Gosh, I haven't used a stock head strap in a while. It is awful. I'm gonna go in with stock audio real quick just to listen to stock audio before I plug these things in. Oh my. What did I say about those things? I'll use Beat Saber, so if some of the sound flips over, it won't give us a copyright on it. So I'm gonna put them in down position before I plug them in. Makes a nice little sound. Reset my volume way low. Oh. So if you put either one up, it automatically mutes. You have to have them both down. And one thing I didn't even think about, if you have your pass-through turned on where you can double tap the side of the headset, that's not gonna work anymore because every time I'm turning these things up and down, it's going to pass-through and out of pass-through. So I'm gonna go disable my pass-through really quick. After you've been on the Quest 2 a long time, you get used to not really hearing much bass. Whether you're using your own headphones with that 3.5, whether you're using any of the aftermarket ones I've used, you just don't have bass anymore. This has bass, but it so far seems like a serious sacrifice actually of the audio clarity. You get in and it sounds muddy. It almost sounds like you're underwater, but you're getting hit hard by bass. It's like, boom, you can feel the physical rumbling of the bass hitting you, but with that you go, what the heck happened to the quality of the music? Very first impression, I feel like, oof. If sheer volume was all you were looking for, volume is definitely there now. On max volume, it is decently loud. This next part, I'm gonna check out a few things in Pistol Whip, so there's not gonna be any sound from the game, of course, for copyright reasons. The gunshots actually hurt on max volume. Pistol Whip sounds a lot better. Beat Saber may be trying harder to hit the bass notes for you to make the game more appealing, more immersive when you do it. Pistol Whip, everything sounds a lot clearer. It still is nothing like, if you're used to the stock audio, you're used to like ear-piercing treble. This feels a lot more balanced and nice, but I do feel like we've lost clarity. We're gonna cut here for a little bit. I'm gonna look at some movies, some documentaries, a lot of other different experiences, try and really get some clarity on how is the clarity, and get back at you here in a little bit. As you can tell, I've spent a lot of time testing a lot of different audio solutions to get you some conclusions here. What does Mr. Beast say? Editing. Now in my testing, I discovered a few issues already that I feel like I need to bring up immediately, especially because right now one of them's still happening. My mute function has stopped working already. It's supposed to, when either one is up, it muted. We saw it happen earlier just fine. Now I go all the way up, not working at all. Another thing that happened when I was testing was I went to put this one back on and I was like, oh, the audio doesn't sound as good as I remembered. And even though it was plugged in, it had reverted back to the stock ones. I had to unplug it and plug it back in to get it to work again. So I'm gonna try that here. Okay, actually that's what was happening. Okay, I thought it sounded really trebly. Okay, the mute function's fine, but for some reason, sometimes when you take it off and put it back on, it doesn't switch back to the Logitechs. You have to unplug and plug it back in. So that's now the second time in the last hour that that's happened. But right now, we are back to the sound of these again and not the actual Quest speakers. Maybe that's a one-off, maybe mine's having issues, but I mean, this is brand new. I wouldn't have expected that in first tests, so that's not great. Let's talk about audio quality here. If you use the Quest 2 for a while, you are used to hearing treble heavy, bass low, mid sound all the time. Imagine if you drove around your car all the time with your treble turned all the way up, your bass turned all the way down, and your mid somewhere near the bottom too. And all of a sudden one day you were like, hey, I'm gonna crank both of these up, the bass and the mid, turn the treble down a little bit, and that's what happens the first moment you put these on. And it's a little overwhelming. Maybe Beat Saber was the wrong place to start, but I got hit with so much bass and so much mid that it sounded kind of muddy. As I went through other games and I listened to vocals and things, it's pretty clear audio, but what they've done, and I don't know if they've done it through USB processing, if there's an amp in here somewhere or an equalizer, what it seems like they've done is they've turned the bass way up, they've turned the mids up, and they've turned the treble down a little bit. So when you're so used to hearing that really loud and basically only treble, you suddenly put these on, you go, whoa. It still isn't quite as clear as I want it, but you can make everything out. It's all understandable. But the sound does seem much fuller and much richer in games. I went into Red Matter 2, felt way more immersed than I did even with my usual audio solution. So it's doing a lot right in the way of audio, but when you've never had bass, no matter what you do, it's a little weird at first to hear some bass. If I were picking only off audio quality, and you line these up against every other audio solution I've tried for the Quest 2, I would probably pick this or maybe the Logitech G333 earbuds we tried out before. Those had a little bit clearer audio even than this, but of course you didn't have all that bass. So completely for audio, they are doing a very good job with these custom drivers in here. I'm impressed by the amount of bass. A lot of people who want bass and just bass, you're getting a lot of bass with these.
You know I'm all about that bass.
So let's move on to build quality. It's obvious the moment you get these out of the box, these were made by a huge company. Nothing about them feels 3D printed, nothing about them feels cheap. The only thing I wish was a little different, maybe it would be nice if this wire had some sort of something to make it hide a little better. You can kind of tuck it down by your facial interface. It's not gonna be noticeable, but it's the only thing that cheapens the look or the feel. Otherwise, you go to grab your headset and move it, and these arms on here feel solid, they feel tight. They're nice and thick too, compared to that stock feel. If you're used to touching the sides of the Quest, like this with the cloth there and just this thin little plastic arm, this makes it feel like the whole headset is higher quality. They color mesh the thing perfectly. These, when they click, you know they've clicked, you know they stay there. And it doesn't feel super heavy on you because you notice, I mean, a lot of the weight's in the speakers. That kind of helps make it feel like it's not as heavy on your face. So build quality is a pretty big one with that. I will say the build quality is really good. Price. That's a tough one. Last month, you could get a whole Quest 2 for $300 and you're talking $100 more for these. That's a lot compared to a lot of audio solutions out there. And the only ones that currently were more expensive was those Rebuff Reality VR ears we tried. And those things are actually down to 90 bucks a lot of the time on Amazon. So this is one of the most expensive VR specific audio solutions. It's a lot of money. I think a lot of people aren't gonna get it just because of the price. Convenience is something, of course, to be spoken for. And what's important for convenience is if you were someone who bought Oculus' own case, is this gonna still fit in there? I'm gonna give it an absolute no on that one real quick. I've got a whole bunch of cases in another video. We'll go through the whole gambit of cases. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that, but most cases you bought aren't going to accommodate these anymore unless it was a humongous case. So that hurts a little bit with the convenience factor. And another thing, I'm not gonna find this out fully in a first impressions. I think they're draining more power than they'd like us to know. I had this thing for maybe an hour and it's almost dead. It's down to 30% already. And usually this lasts a lot longer on just battery power. So I kind of feel like it needs a battery strap. That said, as far as we know from advertising, it may only fit the Oculus battery strap. We haven't tested this yet with other battery straps. Convenience gets a pretty low mark from me because of that. It's definitely messing things up in that way, but it's there, it turns down, it turns up. The mute function, when it works, is nice. Let's talk about weight. 712 grams total with these on it with the stock head strap versus 530 grams stock weight. So an increase of 180 grams. It's not horrible. It is a chunk in comparison to how much weight you're already at. It's like, what, a 30% increase in weight? One last and really big question for all of you out there. We're gonna have to run over to a PC to figure this out. Does it work with a link cable? Because from their advertising, they didn't make it very clear, but it kind of seemed like it didn't. So real quick, we'll run up and see if we can even take like a video off of here if it has any data pass through, and then we'll test and see if a link cable works at all, and then we'll sit down for some final thoughts. Real quick, just to make sure the test is right, we're gonna plug in this cable and see if we can pull data directly off the headset before we try it through the pass through. Finding the hole when you can't see it is always kind of difficult.
That's what she said. Don't you dare.
Okay, allow devices to access files. Obviously that should happen because it's only plugged into the headset right now. I do kind of wish there was an indicator light somewhere on the headphones so that you knew they were working. The only way I know for sure right now is they are actually muting when I go up. What a miss. How is this thing $100 and there's no data pass through there? Sure, it's not that hard to just unplug, move this aside, and plug it in if you're taking video off of here or something, but not everybody has internet to use AirLink yet. If you bought these to play 50% standalone and 50% PC VR, and you couldn't use them at all for PC VR with the link cable, how would you feel? That was a huge miss with these. I can't believe they didn't make it have data pass through for link. Come on. Come on. It's effing ridiculous. The link test was truly disappointing, so the only last test I had to take this through, what straps is it gonna work on? Because hopefully most of you out there either don't have the stock strap or aren't gonna continue using it. Does it work on a very disgusting Oculus own Elite strap that I barely even wanna touch my headset? Yes, it does, which we knew. No surprise they said it would. It works on both their Elite and their Elite battery. Really gonna have to vacuum in here now. Does it work on a Bobo VR M1 Plus head strap? I was hopeful for that one, but no. The problem is the M1 Plus grabs onto the sides here to attach, and that's the part that you can't get it past. I mean, if I really force it, oh God. Whew. Oh boy, okay. We successfully got one on, sort of. You're probably putting this at risk of cracking long-term, but whew. If you get it on, I mean, it's holding, but I can even see the seam on here. The plastic seam goes right along the bottom. It's straining it. The seam's trying to open up a little bit in there. You could sort of use it. I wouldn't recommend it if you want your Logitechs to last forever though. M1, I guess I'm gonna declare that a no. M2 Pro, obviously no, there's no way. Like, how would you even try? Yeah, you got this in the way, you got the wide part here. No way. This is technically a Viva Fort head strap, but it's basically any Apica, anything you see that has this design here with this kind of triangular ridge and this tab up here you can push off. Then you'd run your battery pack directly into the Logitech to charge it. I'm gonna declare this a yes, but really if you wanted this back where it should be back a little bit further. It should be back here. It's not probably gonna affect you much. I still could get it over my ears by leaning it up a little bit, but because of that pull tab, you're losing just a little bit of distance. But I would say it works well enough that I would use this strap with it. This is a strap I cannot name, so that's why the back end of it's all blurred out, but we're gonna try and see if your typical snap over strap that snaps on like this and has a hinge on the side would work. No, that's a problem. Nope. This one, it's just so thick here that it can't hang on. So Kiwi Elite straps, no go. They really did a good job of engineering these in such a way that you could not use them with almost any aftermarket strap. You are really stuck back in the Oculus ecosystem of their stock strap, Elite strap, or their Elite battery strap. There are a few exceptions, so if you're lucky enough you had one of those, or if you wanted an aftermarket strap, you could try to choose one purposely that's gonna fit these, but they really designed these in a way that they wouldn't work on most straps. So that leads us to the final here. What do we think? I wouldn't spend $100 on these. If for no other reason, the link cable reason's a pretty big one in my book. But you add that to the fact that I can't use these with my favorite head strap. I can't even hardly use these with another Bobo VR head strap. I'd have to go seek out a strap purposely or go to the Oculus ones, which we've talked about before, had issues with breaking and all this now, or get to the stock strap, it just feels terrible. It has some minor problems with communication. That could just be this unit, I don't know if that's all, but sometimes if it's still plugged into here, it's playing off your stock speakers and you have to pull it out and plug it back in. Not a huge inconvenience, but $100, all just things I wouldn't expect. Solely off just the audio, if you were only here because you're wondering about the audio quality and you care only about that, that is probably the only thing that I would say makes these worth it. They are, compared to all my others, they are some of the best audio experience you're gonna get, especially for something off ear. But there's just too many other drawbacks in my book. What do you think out there? You can pre-order them now. They release at the end of the month. Is anybody getting these? I'm sure people are really excited. I'm sure they like the look in them. There's enough people rocking the stock strap that maybe there are a good chunk of people that are gonna buy these or have already pre-ordered. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments as to why they're worth it for you. But watch out, we'll have a couple more videos coming the next day. We're gonna go a lot more in depth as we try to use these a little bit more and learn a much more full thoughts. We'll show off a little bit of comparisons with the other headphones that we've got, other things like that too, and of course other cases that these fit in. So watch out for all those videos in the coming days. Thank you for coming out, and I will see you in another reality.